Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So we're continuing on the trend of champion guides on the channel, and more specifically the iterations where we're choosing champions that are voted by you guys in polls on my community tab. And the most recent winner was the permanent mythical fusion in the game, Lady Mikage. So stay tuned to my community tab for the next poll to see which guide you would like to see next. Now, as I'm sure most of you already know, she is the permanent mythical fusion in the game, featuring a smattering of epics you can combine, or some epics you can combine into legendaries, and some rares you can combine into some of the epics, and then you can fuse 2 legendaries, 2 rares, fully leveled, fully ascended as well, unfortunately on behalf of the legendaries, but nonetheless you can fuse a mythical champion, and they do come out 6-starred for those who don't know or who have not yet gotten a mythical champion. But thankfully, in my case, due to the good fortune of RNG, we do actually have this copy that we will fuse in some future time, but we also have the copy that I got from a remnant summon, so Lady Mikage 1, so to speak. When she first came out, I did do a free-to-play review on her kit, going over it and seeing how good it was, evaluating it, and honestly, she has aged super well, and her kit was a lot stronger than it even read on paper. Like, we kind of knew what she was capable of doing, but she kind of blew our expectations out of the water as we kind of learned more about how she specifically works in Form 2. So for those who don't know, let's quickly go through her entire kit. On the A1, attacks one enemy, and it will bring in a random ally from the Shadowkin faction, so it's really smart to pair her with someone from the same faction because you just get a lot more damage or potentially more utility from this ally attack on her A1. And then, kind of like a Duchess, she'll place a shield equal to 10% of her max HP on the ally with the lowest HP. On the A2, attacks all enemies, and this is like the supreme version of this ability, but it decreases the duration of all enemy buffs and ally debuffs by 1 turn, so it's a partial cleanse and a partial purge of the enemy's buffs. And then it also increases the duration of all enemy debuffs, so debuff extension, and then all ally buffs by 1 turn, so buff extension as well. So super powerful ability on a 3-turn cooldown, and most importantly, you don't even have to book this ability to get it down to 3 turns. And then on the A3, a 4-turn cooldown when booked, increase attack and increase crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, and then it's a team up full ally attack. So you might be able to tell here that none of these abilities are booked on Form 1. That is the free-to-play aspect in full form here. So I don't have enough mythical tomes to book Form 1, so I'm running her without books in terms of when I use her in Form 1. On the passive here, at the start of her turn, it will remove all debuffs from the ally with the highest attack, which, depending on who you choose that to be on your team composition, can be pretty much, or it can be very powerful. It's a full cleanse when she gets a turn, not when they get a turn. So if she's faster, she'll just cleanse whoever had any debuffs on them, and then they're good to go whenever they want to. On Form 2, this is the deadlier side, so to speak, and I will admit, I underestimated just how much turn meter suppression she has across this entirety of her kit. And you can see on Form 2, she is booked because this is the form I use most for PvP. This is primarily a PvP build, as we'll go through a little bit later. On the A1 here, Gynnic has the Siffy ability here with a sleep on the A1, but it also decreases the target's turn meter by 15%. So keep that in mind. Keep all these numbers in mind as we go through the kit. So 15% there. On the A2, AoE stun, but it also decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 30%. So 15% here, 30% here. And then on the A3, increase accuracy on all allies for 2 turns. Then it removes all buffs from all enemies, so a full buff strip, and then places weaken on them for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. So this is super powerful. This is the best bomb setup type ability, minus the increased attack, of course, in terms of weaken, increasing bomb damage, and then increased accuracy and increasing the chances that you'll land at the bomb. So super powerful, and we'll see her in action specifically for that purpose. But the passive here also will, at the start of this champion's turn, decrease the turn meter of the enemy with the highest attack by 15%. And in my mind, I always thought that this was just going to be, oh, it slows down the nuker, who cares, big whoop. But what tends to happen is when you have 1 or 2 champions alive, you become the champion with the highest attack, even if it's a support, and so you just can never get a turn. So you're just getting suppressed here just by her taking a turn. She hits you with the A1, you lose 50% and you're asleep, so you miss your turn, or you're stunned and it goes down by 30% and you miss a turn. And it's just it is so suppressive. It's not as bad as Armand's, but it's pretty close. If you have 1 to 2 champions alive, you're basically never going to get a turn, just because she's just lapping you and CCing you with every chance she gets. Her aura is accuracy in all battles, which I don't typically use, but it is nonetheless helpful in some instances probably. And you can see here the blessing, I went with temporal chains. I know a lot of people probably pick polymorph, those who went for the Titan event, just because it is super strong in the arena, specifically in PvP. But for me, I don't like to use polymorph because it's just, in my opinion, it's just too busted, but that's not the focus of today's video. But yeah, I went with temporal chains because I wanted her to kind of be like a cut in type build. And so we'll see the build. She's super fast, but I want her to kind of cut in, switch forms, and then come in with the AoE stun. So if they're not speed tuned properly, then temporal change is going to have some effect as far as decreasing their speed once they start to get buffs, and then we might have a chance to cut in. So we'll stop beating around the bush and talk about the build. We have double speed set and perception set. So basically, I just stole all the gear from my Lady Kimmy. This is kind of what she used to have, but I made sure to double up on the reaction to make sure, or to try and keep her alive in the instance that we don't actually go first. So we'll flick through the gear here a little bit quickly, and I guess it's kind of a minor flex to some of my best gear, but triple speed here with triple speed accuracy there with some glyphs in the divine speed set, triple speed accuracy there on the helmet in the speed set, double speed accuracy here on the shield, triple speed with base roll accuracy. This is 5-star. You know, hey, use what you have. I don't have a 6-star or better here. Defense percentage, or HP percentage on the gloves, by the way. Defense percentage on the chest plate, double speed with accuracy. You're seeing the pattern here, lots of speed, lots of accuracy. And then one of my best boots on the entire account, 6-star speed boots with speed ascension and a double accuracy roll there. And then for the accessories, reaction piece, it's not the best, but it is reaction, so that's kind of why it's on here. But HP main stat, 1 roll in HP, 1 roll defense, and then double on the flat, which is unfortunate, but again, it's reaction here. Defense, flat, but triple accuracy there on that one with the glyph. So, and then reaction banner. Again, I'd like this to be faster, but it's reaction, so single speed roll, single HP, don't really care about her attack, but nonetheless, pretty good stats overall. So if we take a look at her total build, we can see that she has 73,000 on the HP, 3,000 on the attack, 4.1k on the defense, 357 on the speed, and yes, she's actually faster than my Arbiter currently, just because my Arbiter's boots are not ascended with speed yet. I need to re-roll those. And then accuracy 562, as much as I could muster. And then when it comes to the masteries, I definitely went more PvP focused, and we're almost done, not quite there, still need to get the last T5. But we went down, or came down all the way to Eagle Eye just to increase the accuracy even more. Master Hexer, of course, to extend the weaken accuracy stuff here. Swarm Smiter, charged focus, etc. And then defense tree, I went the anti-Siffy route. This is usually what I like to call that wisdom of battle. So if we get slept, we don't get stuck in a loop. Same thing with Armands, we don't get stuck getting stunned forever. Standard tanky stuff, and then ending on retribution. And I'll probably end on no, not deterrence. I'll probably end on Cycle of Revenge. So again, to promote the cut-in build nature, so that whenever an ally is hit with a crit, she has a chance to get more turn meter, which increases the chances that she might cut in and be able to stun. So that's the build on Lady Mikage, but let's see her in action. I was going to head to Classic Arena first because I have a couple of teams to kind of show her off, but Live Arena is going to end in 6 minutes, so we might as well do one quick run, or one quick fight. Hopefully it'll be a quick fight. They usually are, because, you know, I'm not stacked with all the meta champions, but hopefully we can do this and we can show a little bit of what she can do, or we can just get defeated by all of the very, very powerful people in this tier. But yeah, so I'm in gold in Live Arena. Nothing amazing, but nonetheless, the fights can be very, very, very difficult, just because I'm most certainly outclassed by a lot of the people who have spent a lot more on the game. But we'll try and get her drafted as soon as possible. Hopefully they don't pick her, but usually people go with like Armands or something to start things off. We'll see what this guy does. And we'll get a little bit of my typical strategy here for Live Arena as well. It may or may not work. It kind of depends who picks what. And ideally, they don't pick... Well, usually they do pick Armands, but ideally, I like it when they don't start with Armands. That way, it's a little bit more interesting, the fight. And then it's a little bit... different, but as expected, we have the Armand. So my standard rebuttal to that is the white couple, so the king and the queen, and we'll see what they do after that. Okay, they responded with Arbiter and Wallmaster Otharion. Not sure about that pick there, so that's kind of a freebie. My plan usually is to ban Armand, so we're going to switch over and grab the Galathyr and the Lady Mikage, so we're going to snag both of those up. I like to draft in this way, that way I can kind of pick who the second DPS is depending on their last two picks, and I don't have the situation where like I pick a Rotos and they pick a UDK or something like that. So we're definitely going to ban the Armands. That's still going to be the way to go here. And what I want to do is probably grab let's grab Stultus, because they're going to run the Lydia. And so we don't want decreased defense on him, and he's immune to it. So we'll do that. We'll get rid of this. And we're just going to have to tank the smack of the Trunda. Let's see who they ban here. They might ban probably Galathier or Mikage. One of the two. No, they're okay. They're getting rid of the queen. Interesting. All right. Well, let's go with the, I guess a lot of people go for like the ban of the speed aura, which I get it, but it's like if you're already going first, then, you know, it's not like my, you know, Ankora is going to be faster than your Arbiter. In this case, my Mikage is pretty fast in fairness, but we'll see. So let's see what happens. If they're speed tuned, we might not be able to do a ton, but also the more buffs they put out, the more likely Lady Mikage is to cut in, and nope. Okay, this is going to hurt, probably. So he might be able to kill Narcisse. I'm not sure how hard he hits in terms of arena. Ooh, close. Trunda's going to finish him off. Well, he's dead. Okay, counterattack. So yeah, with the Lydia there, this is probably a loss just because we're not going to be able to revive anyone. Oh, no, she weak hit. Perfect. Okay. So we get the cleanse off. We don't have to worry about that. No, we don't get our buffs blocked, and poison sensitivity, although he can't be poisoned. But we'll see what we can do when we get a turn. Lydia's most certainly dead here because she put decreased defense and weaken on herself. And now we're just going to wait until we actually get a turn. So unfortunately, we don't really get to see what Lady Mikage can do just because this team was actually speed tuned, which isn't always the case. Because a lot of the time when you're trying to mess up the draft in live arena, you'll have instances where people will, you'll break the speed tune by taking out certain champions. So in this case, I don't mind, well, no, I can't really revive because Lydia's going to come back and I'm not going to get them back anyways. So I think we'll just try and, whoo, that was a gamble on his part. But I think we pretty much have this on lock because I can just switch forms and they'll never get a turn after that. So it's GG's for them. They put up a good fight. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't really get to see Mikage in action. So what I might do... We might have time. We might have time for another one. We'll see if we can get one where they don't actually ban her. Okay, so unfortunately, the second fight in Live Arena, they also banned Lady Mikage. So we're swapping over to Classic Arena to showcase her there. And specifically, like I mentioned in the build, she's primarily built in the PvP form, and so she's primarily used to activate the bombers on my account. And I do have the luxury of having 3 bombers, or 3 different bombers on my account, 2 of which, of course, are previous fusions. So we'll go through a little bit of the bomb teams. We have Bomb Voyage 1, 2, and 3. So I've had this team structure for a very long time, except that Mikage's used to be Rian the Conjurer, the Doom Tower Epic, for the same role as the buff strip and weaken placing, but we get the added bonus of now having increased accuracy, so we're a lot more likely to strip and place the weaken. And then the CC slot used to be Cornelia because she doesn't touch them with her abilities, which is really nice to be able to not wake them up after the sleep. The problem with Mikage being so fast is that she's going to come around to her stun very, very quickly before they wake up. And so having Basher in the mix means that even if we do wake them up through any form, or if they're in Stone Skin, for example, which is the bane of a lot of bomb champions, a Stone Skin cleanser, he can lock them out for a couple of turns, and then they can't do anything even if they are awake. The second team down here is more or less the same thing, except that Nishak is now the bomber, and I combined Lady Kimmy and Rian the Conjurer together, increase accuracy there, as well as the buff strip and the weaken into Lady Mikage, which freed up a slot. And one of the problems with running Nishak versus Gaius, of course has the sleep, and so most of the time when they're not in Stone Skin, they're going to be asleep, even though it's a 2-turn bomb. And so when they wake up, it will become 1 turn and then they die on their next turn, which is really nice. For Nishak, he has to decrease the duration on his own. And what I found in practice is that a lot of the times with retribution hits or revenge accessories or retaliation accessories, etc., or retaliation artifacts, he would get counterattacked by a nuker and die before he can reduce the bombs. They get cleansed or something, or he would get counterattacked by a Lydia or a UDK and get provoked or feared or something, get CC'd. And so it was very, very annoying to deal with that original variation of the team. So because I had an extra slot, I threw in Nekret just to protect Nishak so that he can, if he gets counterattacked, doesn't matter, he has block debuffs up. And then the third variation of the team, same thing as the first one, except we have Lord Shazar in the mix. So of course, this is not going to work against every type of team, but I do have 3 different bombers, so I can deal with all different types of mixes of affinities. So in this particular example, hopefully we don't get polymorphed, but we do have Magic and Force Champions and Void, and I do expect or hope to go faster than this team. So we'll try our luck and see if we can beat the Siphi in the speed race. And yeah, we'll get to see this in action. It's a pretty straightforward team for anyone who's used a bomb comp before, so we just go first. And I guess I'll reiterate that for now, Lady Mikage is faster than Arbiter, but I intend to fix that down the road with the Ascension or Awakening the gear, leveling up the gear, whatever it's called. But yeah, so bomb. Oh, we did get polymorph, but it's fine. We didn't get the polymorph from the bombs. So a perfect example right there, going against a Wixwell, is another champion he starts off with counterattack that's protected, so you can't remove it with a Lady Mikage or any buff strip champion, and thus he could have actually landed the provoke on Nishak, and thus he wouldn't be able to reduce the duration of the bombs. In this case, there's no cleanser, so it's not as big of a deal. But again, that was the pitfall of the previous iteration of the comp. We can run this team again against. I mean, we could take the freebies. I don't always go against like super hard teams just because I don't like trying to win speed races like this team, for example. I might be faster, but I don't like to risk it, so I'm not going to try and change the way I play just for the sake of the video. But I go for the easy wins most of the time. So for this one, just to showcase Lady Mikage, I could use any team really because this is not really much of a fight, but we'll just show the third variation of the bomb comp. But you guys kind of get the idea. She switches forms, does the buff strip in the weekend. We have increased attack from Arbiter, lockout with the Basher, and then 1 turn duration bombs. And so again, this is where like we'd get in trouble with Gaius or not running Basher and having Gaius because she would lap around so quickly. And if there's any Spirit Affinity champion, she might weak hit on the stun, or again, if they're in Stone Skin, they can't be stunned. And so Basher just eliminates the risk of or alleviates the risk of her being so fast that she comes back and cuts in again. Another area that I use Lady Mikage in is hard mode Fire Knight, where ally attack, counter attack is the meta, combined with preferably a Newt, but any types of freezing A1 champions will do, like a Neldor or Crowd in the blue you can see here. And then I have Tomb Lord in the mix as well for decreased defense, decreased attack, as well as the poisons to help do damage on the waves. So let's go ahead and run this team. And yeah, I haven't done a full showcase on this particular iteration of the comp. Let me know if you guys want to do or want to see a dedicated video, but it's not much different than the previous iteration of the team where I had Ferric the Fat instead of Lady Mikage there. So you can see decreased defense on all the waves. They're all frozen thanks to Crowd in the blue. Newt is one of the primary DPSs. And as far as the AI overrides on Mikage, I will mention that because it is pretty particular for this team. I do have her open with the ally attack and then swap forms because we do want to be able to control wave 2 just in case we don't land the freezes. I mainly did that because of running this on stage 10 hard mode, which technically it can do, but it is not perfectly reliable. And I think primarily because Mikage is not in reflex, which would probably be more ideal, but more importantly, she's not booked on form 1, and so the ally attack has like a 5-turn cooldown on booked or something like that, and so it takes a long time for her to cycle back through. So if I have her booked, then I might be more willing to try out hard mode stage 10 again. But like I said, this team technically has succeeded on stage 10, so that's why I have her optimized, so she can go in with the weaken on wave 2 and then follow it up with the stun. So the weaken is to bait out the reflect of debuffs from the Riho Bone Spear on stage 10 hard mode, and then she can come back and stun again in cases of the freezing not land, and thus we don't want the Riho to cleanse and block debuffs and heal everyone. So that's kind of why she's optimized in that way. And it's also worth noting that we did make sure that she'll take enough turns between wave 1 and wave 2 so that she does, or so that she can swap back to form 1 when we get to the boss and be able to perform the ally attack as needed. Everyone else pretty straightforward. Newt, we're obviously saving, or he's allowed to use Blessed Bash, I should say. We're not saving it. But we're saving the ally attacks on wave 2, obviously, to be able to use them into the shield. And then Crowdin's allowed to do whatever he wants, more or less. And then openers, of course, A1s across the board, aside from the ally attackers, because we want to break the shield. So there you go. She's fastest on the team. First ally attack, breaking the shield. We do have Phantom Touch on Tomb Lord, as well as Crowd in the blue. So there is a chance that we can get Phantom Touch procs to reduce the shield even more. There we go. We got one from him. So basically, the first ally attack and the first couple of A1s will break the shield on stage 6. On stage 10 hard mode, typically it's the second ally attack that does actually break the shield because it brings everyone back in. And then Tomb Lord again is in there, decrease speed on the A1. All he has to do is crit. He is built with full crit rate, so that helps him do that job. And then decrease defense, decrease attack in case the boss gets a turn, which doesn't happen on stage 6, but it can happen on stage 10. And we can survive that. It just depends, again, if we can cycle back to our ally attacks quick enough. Reflex set is on Lonotharl here, the other ally attacker, just to make him cycle back through his abilities as quickly as possible. And then Newt is actually in Destroy for Scarab King, so it's not optimized fully for this fight necessarily. I know a lot of people go with Savage or Reflex or stuff like that, but I optimized him for Scarab King on my team. All right, so we're coming here to the end of the fight. One last Blessed Bash to do it. So yeah, this team takes about 3 to 3.5 minutes, depending on RNG, of how many Phantom Touch procs we get, how many ally attack animations we have to go through, depending on reflex set procs. Soul Reap is on Newt, obviously, to finish the boss when it comes down to it. So it all depends on that. But yeah, 3 to 3.5 minutes on stage 6 hard mode. Roughly around the same time on stage 10. So realistically speaking, she's not integral to the success of this run. This team would work in this exact form with just Ferric and the Fat than it did in the past. But the added utility of her being able to CC on wave 2 is what made me more willing to try out the team on stage 10 hard mode and stuff like that. So she is better if you have her. She's one of the best ally attack champions in the game, and Ferrican obviously doesn't attack, and so that one missing hit might be the one you need to actually break the shield. So all the small stuff can definitely matter. And then rounding out the places where I do use her, she will be on my new version of my Bommal team, the Speed Farm Nishak comp. She's replacing Lanicus the Chosen, who basically did the same thing more or less as far as having increased attack as well as an ally attack. She will be the fastest champion in this composition, and so as long as she's in form 1, which she will be, she can provide increased attack for the bombs from Nishak as well as providing the ally attack. Whereas Lanicus, she usually just provided the increased attack, but if she happened to get the extra turn when I ran her unbooked, then she would also throw in her ally attack. So triple ally attack team. Cleopteryx there for the weaken on the A1, but also a little bit of nuking on wave 2. And then of course Nishak for the bombs. Can't actually show you that team because it is not rotation 3 currently. We're on rotation 2. But if you want to see that in action as well, let me know in the comment section down below. So as far as the utility of Lady Mikage, you can basically use her everywhere that you could ever imagine. So those are just the areas that I specifically have used her in and built her for. But she works wonders from what I hear in Hydra Clan Boss, specifically if you pair her with someone from the Shadowkin faction. Toshiro, the Mythical, is very popular. Harima is very popular. Same reason. Ninja is also popular. And Aboro, I think, is also popular. Hydra has definitely shifted for the upper echelon of players into more of a DPS speed race type compositions. And so ally attackers are very, very strong for that purpose. And then, of course, the Cursed City of Centranos, if she fits into the restrictions of the wave, she will most certainly be useful, specifically in stages where you have to deal with some variation of Hardbow and Fire Knight or Fire Knight in general. She's just nice because, of course, the ally attack helps you break the shield. So very, very useful. Obviously, she could help in Siege as well, PvP. But yeah, all around champion, super good in both forms. Definitely worth your mythical tomes if you can manage to get enough of them to use her. But yeah, that is going to do it for the showcase of my Lady Mikage on my account, at least Lady Mikage number 1. I don't currently plan to use the second Mikage, but she will be there if I do need to use her in the future. So let me know in the comment section down below, have you managed to get her yet? Have you been fortunate enough to get all of the epics to fuse her? And if you have, then let me know what areas you specifically use her in on your account. As I mentioned earlier, stay tuned to my community tab page where I'm going to post another poll asking you guys to decide which champion you'd like me to showcase next. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. And if you enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.